It all started when I was just 8 years old. I accidentally broke a vase that was incredibly precious to my stepmom, a vase I later learned symbolized more to her than just its aesthetic value. It represented a life and a home she had cultivated, one that didn't necessarily include me. Her reaction was immediate and harsh, culminating in an ultimatum to my dad. It was either her or me. As a child, I clung to the belief that my dad would choose me, his daughter, over anything else. But that night, the reality hit hard as he drove me to Grandma's house, a decision that would reshape my entire childhood. I remember feeling a mix of disbelief and betrayal as he left me at Grandma's. Although he maintained contact, calling daily and visiting often, something fundamental in our relationship shifted that night. At first, I tried to mask my hurt and confusion with a veneer of happiness, but that facade quickly crumbled. I couldn't fake my feelings, and I became increasingly withdrawn and emotionless around him. My dad noticed the change and would often express his concerns to Grandma, puzzled by my cold demeanor. This emotional distance grew until, at the age of 9, I made a decision that felt like reclaiming a bit of control. I asked to live with my mom full time. She lived in a small apartment, which meant giving up the space and comfort I had at my dad's house. But what mattered more was feeling wanted and safe. My mom agreed without hesitation, and from then on, our bond only strengthened. I even shared a bed with her until I moved in with my fiancé, something others might find odd, but for me, it was a source of comfort and security. Over the years, our relationship became my sanctuary, especially as I navigated the teenage years filled with typical challenges and some not-so-typical family dramas. My mom supported me by enrolling me in various after-school programs, which were both a way to develop my interests and a strategic move to limit my interactions with my dad. These activities were a blessing. They kept me busy and helped me avoid unwanted confrontations. Time moved on, and eventually I heard news that my stepmom had another child, a baby boy. They threw a big celebration, one that I wasn't part of. My relationship with that side of my family had faded so much that I didn't even meet my half-brother during those early days. Our interactions were limited to brief, uncomfortable encounters during obligatory birthday gatherings or sporadic visits to Grandma's house. Recently, another major life event unfolded: my engagement. My fiancé proposed in a wonderfully understated way, and I was overjoyed. I shared the news with my close family, my mom, uncle, mom's cousin, and of course Grandma, but I intentionally left my dad out of the loop, given our strained relationship. However, Grandma accidentally let the news slip to him, and he seized the opportunity to reach out, inviting me to a family dinner to introduce my fiancé and meet my baby brother. I wasn't ready for that kind of reunion, so I made an excuse to avoid it. Unfortunately, this led to a confrontation with Grandma, whom I unfairly lashed out at in a moment of frustration. Now for the top comments before the update. So he shipped you off to Grandma's because he couldn't be bothered with you, and now he wants to play happy family. Nope. All you need to say is that you and your fiancé, congrats by the way, have no interest in having dinner with the man who tells his wife over his child because of a broken face. And we're not going to even go into the fact that stepmother got away with such an ultimatum in the first place. He made his bed and now we can lie in it. No joke. As a father myself, there's no way I'd pick a girlfriend over my young child for any reason but a stupid face. I have given myself a hernia laughing her butt at the door the moment you better choose past her lips. It sounds like dad and stepmom deserve one another, and not much else. To be honest, I'd be tempted to get a Goodwill vase and send it to them in some way that's crappy. Like with a note that says, "Don't worry about missing the wedding. You can walk this vase down the aisle anytime you want," or maybe send them a photo of the vase wearing a wedding veil or something. If appears Jewish, maybe she and her fiancé could send them a video of them smashing bases in a wedding-style op. Can't you send a vase to your dad and stepmom to congratulate them on the baby with the card? I hope your new baby doesn't break anything too nice. Grandma is getting too old to raise any more of your kids. You chose your wife over a little child. That was the day I stopped being your daughter. Please don't contact me again because I have no desire to have a relationship with you. It's profound and beautiful. Oh, please do this. Oh. Also, apologize to your grandma, but reinforce to her the idea that you are non-contact with your father after he abandoned you for his new family. If she tells your father anything after that, stop telling her things until she gets the idea. Update 1. So the day after I had a big argument with Grandma about telling my dad I was getting married, she called me up sounding super serious. She said we needed to sit down and talk because there was a lot more to the story about the broken vase than I ever knew. This got me feeling really anxious because I thought I already knew all the important stuff. When I went over to see her, she dropped a huge bombshell. The vase I broke when I was 8 wasn't just any old vase. It was super important to my stepmom because it contained the ashes of her first child, who died as a baby. My jaw literally dropped. I had no clue about any of this, and suddenly the pieces started to fit together about why she flipped out so much when I broke it. I felt horrible because I didn't know, and no one ever thought to tell me. As I was still trying to process this news, guess who shows up at my front door? My dad. Yep, out of nowhere, he comes knocking. He wasn't just there to chit-chat, he came to apologize. But not just for the recent mess-up when he invited me to dinner and I refused to go. He wanted to say sorry for pretty much everything bad that had gone down since the day he decided to send me to live with Grandma. He said he realized he had made a bunch of mistakes, especially letting his relationship with my stepmom mess up our bond. Just as I thought we were done with surprises, he hit me with another one. He and my stepmom are getting a divorce. It turns out she's been cheating on him, and this wasn't the first time she'd done something like this. My dad was really upset, obviously, and he was there trying to find some comfort or support from me, the kid he hadn't really been there for because of all the past drama. So there I was, stuck in the middle of this emotional storm, trying to figure out how to feel about all these revelations. My dad was clearly a mess and wanted to fix things between us. Part of me felt like maybe we could start over, but another part of me was just overwhelmed by everything. And then there's the whole thing with the vase. Knowing what it really meant made me feel guilty about breaking it, even though I had no idea about its significance back then. It was like, on one hand, my stepmom never really treated me nicely, but on the other hand, I unknowingly destroyed something that was super precious to her. Everything was just a big, tangled mess, and I found myself having to decide whether to let my dad back into my life or keep some distance while he sorted out his own issues. And of course, there was the task of explaining all this new drama to my fiancé, which I knew wasn't going to be easy. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I'm just here trying to make sense of things, figure out my feelings, and decide what to do next. It's a lot for anyone to handle, and I'm just taking it one step at a time. Update 2. Just as I was trying to get my head around all the family drama and mend things with my dad, my stepmom decided to stir the pot in a big way. Out of nowhere, she showed up at my doorstep. I mean, literally just appeared one morning, looking all upset and teary. It was so unexpected that I almost didn't open the door. First, she started off all soft, saying how sorry she was for all the tension between us over the years. It kind of threw me off because she'd never been this way with me before. Just as I was wondering what her game was, she switched up the conversation entirely. She began telling me this wild story about how everything that went wrong in her marriage with my dad was actually his fault, not hers. She painted herself as this total victim, which was really hard to swallow given everything that's happened. Then she tried to pull me onto her side for the upcoming divorce. She claimed that my dad was hiding money and other stuff to leave her with nothing when they split. It felt super manipulative, like she was trying to get me to feel sorry for her and back her up in court or something. But here's where it got totally crazy. She brought up the vase incident, the one where I accidentally broke a vase that had her first child's ashes in it when I was 8. She accused me of breaking it on purpose. Can you believe that? She was twisting what happened when I was just a kid into something mean and spiteful to make herself look like she was the one being wronged all these years. And just when I thought she couldn't go any lower, she told me she was planning to take legal action against me for the emotional pain she's been carrying since the vase broke. She even brought documents from a lawyer, threatening to sue me if I didn't support her side of the story about my dad and their marriage in the divorce proceedings. It was totally outrageous and felt super entitled, like she was using the law to force me to do what she wanted. I was stunned, like completely speechless. Here was my stepmom, who hadn't been the nicest person all these years, suddenly on my doorstep playing the victim and trying to drag me into her mess with these crazy accusations and legal threats. After she left, I had a major sit-down with my fiancé, who was just as shocked by all of this as I was. We talked it over for hours, trying to figure out what in the world I should do. It felt like I was suddenly a character in some wild soap opera. Except this was real life, and these were real big problems. We decided that we needed to stay clear of her manipulations and not get pulled into this drama any more than we had to. But with legal threats now hanging over my head, it was clear I had to figure out some way to deal with it without letting her walk all over me. It was a mess, a huge mess, and figuring out the next steps was going to be really tough. But one thing was clear. My stepmom was ready to do whatever it took to come out on top in her battle with my dad, even if it meant dragging me through the mud to get there. Update 3. Alright, so here's the news on the latest wild turn in my stepmom's drama. Just when I thought things might start to cool down, she decided to take our family drama to a whole new level by going digital. Yep, she blasted everything on social media. This wasn't just a little post here and there. She went all out. She put up a super long Facebook post and even did a live stream on Instagram where she spilled all the beans, talking about how much emotional pain she's been going through because of our family issues. She brought up the old story about the vase I broke when I was 8, trying to make me look like some kind of villain from a movie, even though I was just a kid who made an honest mistake. But wait, there's more. During her Instagram live, she dropped a bombshell. She was starting a charity in memory of her first child, whose ashes were in that vase I accidentally broke. She made it sound like she was on this noble quest for peace and healing. It was super obvious she was aiming to tug at people's heartstrings and get everyone to side with her while making me out to be the bad guy in front of pretty much everyone who followed her online. And just when I thought she couldn't possibly twist the knife any deeper, she pulled another sneaky move. She organized this big online fundraiser event for her new charity and sent out invites far and wide. And guess what? She made sure to send an invite to my fiance's parents, who had no idea about all the deep and messy details of our family drama. It felt like she was trying to embarrass me and drag them into this mess, making things super awkward and putting me on the spot. My dad, who's been trying to stay out of the spotlight while dealing with their messy divorce, was absolutely furious when he found out about her social media antics. He called me right away, super upset, but also really concerned about how all this drama was affecting me and our efforts to rebuild our relationship. He apologized over and over for the mess and made it clear he was firmly on my side, despite everything going on with the divorce. As if I wasn't already dealing with enough, the next thing I knew, I got served with official papers. Yeah, my stepmom actually went through with it. She sued me for emotional damages and defamation. That means she was accusing me of ruining her reputation because I wouldn't back her up in public. The lawsuit was filled with all sorts of legal terms and threats, basically saying if I didn't give in to her demands, she was ready to take this battle to court and keep it there as long as it took to get what she wanted. That evening, I had a serious sit-down with my fiancé. We were both majorly stressed but knew we couldn't let her manipulative games scare us off. We decided it was time to get some legal advice for ourselves, not just to fight against her lawsuit, but also to figure out how to prevent her from pulling my fiancé's family into this ever-growing circus. It felt like my stepmom was on a mission to paint me as the ultimate bad guy to everyone we knew. The situation was spinning out of control fast, and we realized we had to prepare for whatever crazy thing she was going to throw at us next. It was overwhelming for sure, but we were determined to stand our ground and not let her theatrics dictate our lives. Update 4. Alright, here's the latest on the never-ending drama with my stepmom. After she went all out on social media, sharing her side of the story, things took a turn. But this time it felt closer to home and a bit more personal. She took her story to the local community center, which is like the main hub in our town where everyone goes for events and gatherings. There, she put up a big public notice on the bulletin board. It was basically a long, open letter to everyone in town, painting a picture of herself as someone who's been suffering quietly for years. In her letter, she talked about the deep pain she felt losing her first child, and then reliving that pain when I accidentally broke the vase with the ashes. She made it sound like she was under constant emotional attack, hinting that I, even as a little kid, had somehow made her life miserable. It was like she was crafting a story where she was the hero, wronged by her own stepchild, and now she was sharing her tragic tale with the whole community. But she didn't just stop with a letter. She went a step further and organized what she called a healing and awareness session right there at the community center. She advertised it as a chance for people dealing with similar family issues to come together, share their stories, and support each other. It was pretty clear she was trying to position herself as a kind of leader or spokesperson for people going through tough family dramas. Word about her letter and the meeting spread super fast. Before I knew it, people I knew, like neighbors, old classmates, and just random folks I'd see around, started giving me these looks. Some were looks of concern, like they felt bad for what I was supposedly putting her through. Others were just curious, like they couldn't figure out if I was really the person my stepmom was describing in her public plea. Feeling a mix of annoyed and kind of betrayed by the way she was twisting things to make me look bad, I decided it was time to do something about it. I talked it over with my fiancé, and we agreed that just letting her control the narrative wasn't an option anymore. We had to set the record straight, but in a way that was thoughtful and didn't just throw more gas on the fire. So I started reaching out to people in the community who I trusted and who knew me well. I shared my side of the story, the real version, with all the context that my stepmom conveniently left out. I wasn't trying to start a public fight or anything. I just wanted to clear up any misunderstandings and show that there was another side to this whole saga. Meanwhile, my dad was keeping in close touch throughout all this. He was really supportive, always checking in and making sure I was okay. He was also trying to handle their divorce as quietly as possible, hoping to avoid any more public blow-ups. But my stepmom seemed to have other plans, really leaning into her role as the misunderstood victim. As things stood, the community was buzzing with all sorts of opinions and gossip. It felt like everyone had something to say about the drama. But with every new challenge, my fiancé and I got a bit tougher and a bit wiser about how to handle the situation. We were determined to deal with this whole mess in a way that kept our dignity and stayed true to who we were. It was exhausting, no doubt, keeping up with my stepmom's maneuvers, correcting false stories, and trying to maintain some peace. It was a lot. But we kept our focus on handling things maturely and not letting the drama drag us down. It's been a wild ride, and it seems like each day brings a new twist, but we're hanging in there, ready for whatever comes next, hoping eventually things will start to calm down. Update 5. So get this, things with my stepmom just went from crazy dramatic to full-on explosive. After her little healing and awareness session at the community center, where she tried to play the victim, she decided to up her game, but it totally backfired on her. Let me break it down for you. A few days after her event, she decided to confront me in the most public and dramatic way possible, right in the middle of the local grocery store. Yep, imagine this. We're there between the apples and the breakfast cereals, and she starts going off. She went full Karen mode, loudly telling anyone who would listen how I was the root of all her problems, and how everyone in town needed to know the real me. She was throwing around words like ungrateful and disrespectful, making a huge scene. But here's the twist. One of the people watching this showdown was recording the entire meltdown on their phone. The video got everything, her ranting and raving, and me trying to keep things cool, suggesting we talk about it privately instead of in the middle of the grocery aisle. I was all about keeping the peace, even with her going off the rails. That video? It went viral, like really viral. It spread across social media faster than a wildfire, and the reactions started flooding in. Most people were pretty shocked by her over-the-top behavior and actually felt bad for me, seeing how I was trying to handle the situation calmly. The video painted a clear picture. She was the aggressor, and it wasn't a good look for her. As the video made its rounds, people who had read her letter at the community center and who had been at her session started doubting her story. They saw this other side of her, the entitled, aggressive side, and began to wonder if maybe they hadn't gotten the whole story. But wait, it gets even juicier. After the video blew up, some folks from her past saw it and decided to come forward with their own stories about her. Turns out, she had a bit of a history of twisting the truth and playing the victim long before she married my dad. These new tales started circulating, adding even more doubt about her character and her past actions. Feeling the pressure from all the negative attention, my stepmom tried to dial it back. She posted a public apology on her social media, saying she was stressed and didn't mean for any of it to go so far. But by then, most people weren't buying her sudden change of heart. The damage to her reputation was pretty severe, and her attempt to backtrack seemed a little too convenient. During all this chaos, my dad was amazing. He was totally shocked by her outburst in the store and was super relieved that people were finally seeing the real her. He kept telling me that we'd stick together through this mess and that eventually the truth would come out. He was a solid rock during the storm. As for me and my fiancé, we were kind of in shock but also relieved. It felt like finally, after all this drama, the truth was coming out and people were seeing her true colors. We knew there might still be some bumps ahead, but with the community starting to back us and see through her antics, we felt a lot stronger and ready to face whatever comes next. It was an insane turn of events, but in some weird way, it felt like we were finally getting to a place where we could breathe a little easier. It was like a giant knot was unraveling, and we were just watching it all come apart, hoping that soon we'd find some peace after the crazy storm. Update 6. Just when everyone thought maybe, just maybe my stepmom might chill out for a bit, she cranked the drama dial all the way up again. Check this out. She made a move that was so over the top, it left pretty much everyone in our town shaking their heads in disbelief. Here's the full scoop. After everything seemed to quiet down following the whole viral video saga and her half-hearted public apology, there was a weird calm for a few days. Turns out, she was just gearing up for her most outrageous stunt yet. One morning, as folks were heading to work or taking their morning jog, they came across something that stopped them in their tracks. A gigantic billboard right at the entrance to our neighborhood. And yep, it was all about my stepmom. This billboard had a massive photo of her looking all serious, and a huge message about her journey to find truth and justice amidst family betrayal. It sounded like something out of a TV show. But wait, there's more. She announced on this billboard that she was starting a series of community talks around town about handling family conflicts and promoting healing. It was pretty clear she was trying to clean up her image by making herself look like a peace advocate. But that's not all. Overnight, she launched a slick new website where she put up what she called evidence to back up her side of the story. This included a bunch of messages between us, taken totally out of context, and some really twisted facts about our family life. The site even had a section asking for donations, claiming she'd use the money to help others who were dealing with similar family issues. This move just threw another log on the fire of drama she was building. The reaction around town was a mix of shock, annoyance, and disbelief. People couldn't believe she'd go to such lengths, especially after the backlash she'd already faced. It seemed like she was trying to twist the public's view of her yet again, but this time, folks were getting really tired of her games. And then, something unexpected happened. During one of her first community talks at a local hall, which barely anyone attended, something pretty epic went down. A well-known local counselor who had been following the drama stood up in the middle of her speech and started challenging her. Right there, in front of everyone, he called out the inconsistencies in her stories and questioned her motives. And yes, someone recorded the whole showdown, and that video went viral too, just adding to the pile of evidence that she wasn't as truthful as she claimed to be. This new video going viral seemed to be the last straw for a lot of people in our town. There was a ton of chatter on social media, with more and more folks expressing support for me and my family, and questioning everything my stepmom was trying to sell. Throughout all this, my dad was a rock. He kept telling me that we were doing the right thing by sticking to the truth, no matter how tough things got. He was really bummed about how out of hand things had gotten, but also kind of hopeful that maybe this latest blunder by her would help more people see her true colors. My fiancé and I had a lot of long talks about how to handle all this. It was exhausting to keep being dragged into the spotlight, but we knew we couldn't just sit back and let her spin things her way without any pushback. We decided to keep standing up for ourselves when we needed to, but also to try to focus on our own lives and future together, away from the drama vortex. As for my stepmom, it looked like her strategy of trying to control the story was finally backfiring big time. People were getting really fed up with her antics, and her credibility was crumbling more with each passing day. It was a roller coaster of emotions, but it felt like maybe the community was beginning to see through her act, and that gave us a little hope that peace might be on the horizon after all this chaos. Last update. After all the drama, the viral stunts, and her public meltdowns, things took a surprising turn that pretty much no one saw coming. After the last public disaster at her so-called community talk, where she got called out by that counselor, my stepmom totally disappeared from the radar. It was like she just vanished from all the public drama making. For a couple of weeks, everything was super quiet, which was honestly pretty weird given how loud things had been. We all kind of held our breath, wondering what was up. Then out of the blue, I got something in the mail from her. It was a letter, which was a shocker in itself because after all the public posts and videos, a simple letter felt kind of old school. But this wasn't just any letter. It was an apology. And not the kind of sorry not sorry thing she'd done before. This seemed like the real deal. She wrote about how she realized that she had let her anger and past issues cloud her judgment, making her act in ways that she wasn't proud of. She admitted that she had hurt a lot of people, including me, and that wasn't okay. She said she was planning to step away from trying to grab everyone's attention and instead focus on getting some professional help to work through her issues. She wanted to try and fix some of the damage she'd done, starting with our relationship. I won't lie, I was super skeptical at first. After all the stunts she'd pulled, trusting her wasn't easy. But there was something about the letter that felt genuinely different, like maybe she was actually serious this time. Meanwhile, back in our town, things started calming down big time. The infamous billboard came down, and her website suddenly disappeared off the internet. It was like the whole community let out a collective sigh of relief, ready to get back to normal life without any daily drama updates. My dad was pretty surprised by her letter too. He hoped it meant she was finally turning a corner, and that maybe, just maybe, there could be some peace in our family again. We talked a lot about it and decided to give her some space to prove she was really trying to change. Our relationship, which had been through so much, started feeling stronger and more stable, and that was something I was really grateful for. As for me and my fiancé, we took this quiet time as a blessing. We dove into planning our wedding, feeling closer and more connected after weathering this storm together. We talked a lot about the situation with my stepmom and agreed to keep a cautious but hopeful eye on how things unfolded with her. We were all about moving forward, focusing on our life together, and keeping things positive. So, that's pretty much where we landed at the end of all this madness. After a wild and often exhausting journey, It looks like there might be some calm seas ahead for us. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I've learned a ton about dealing with tough family stuff, staying strong, and the power of forgiveness. Thanks for hanging in there with me through this whole saga. It's been wild, it's been real, and it's taught me more than I ever thought I'd learn about how crazy family life can get. But here we are, standing strong, looking ahead, and ready for whatever comes next. Bring on the future. It looks pretty bright from here.